You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Jazz Cabbage. I'm your host, Chala June, and today we're diving into part 2 of our exploration into the science behind cooking and eating cannabis. If you tuned in last week, you heard me chat with attorney, entrepreneur, and inventor Chanel Lindsay about the foundations of Edibles 101. We talked decarboxylation, the endocannabinoid system, bioavailability, and much, much more. So if you missed that episode, feel free to pause here and go run that one back. For those of you who have completed the prerequisite coursework, we're bumping you up to the advanced class this week under the tutelage of certified food scientist Breanna Neff. Breanna and I sat down to discuss more nuanced topics like traditional versus fast-acting edibles, how adaptogens and superfoods can work in tandem with cannabinoids, the impact of intentional cannabis use in our daily wellness routines, and so much more. So break out your penjamins and grab a seat because class is back in session. Welcome back to Jazz Cabbage. I'm your host, Chala June, and I'm here with the incomparable Breanna Neff, the founder and chief food scientist behind Brelixi, a pioneering plant-based wellness startup producing fast-acting and multifunctional drink mixes and supplement powders. Breanna, welcome to Jazz Cabbage. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello. Thank you for the warm intro, and I'm so excited to be here.
It's wild to think that when you look at a calendar, we met only just over a year ago when you were first launching Brelixi, but it feels like it's been so much longer, truly, because we've gotten to do so much incredible and fun work together, from our silly special Brooklyn Munchies tour videos on social media to having you and Brelixi be able to be the drinks partner for my first cannabis pop-up dinner back in February. So I am over the moon to be able to have you on this premiere season of Jazz Cabbage and to have you share all of your knowledge with our listeners.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I have to note, I literally met you on Brelixi's first day of business, of launch, on our launch day at Luxury Meets Cannabis conference. That was our first time being Brelixi. So it's wild.
For the people who don't know what Brelixi is, can you please describe the brand in your own words?
Yes. So I like to say that we are functional wellness meeting fast-acting cannabis. So we utilize multifunctional blends in drink mix form and also in flavorless supplement powder form to provide instant elevation, relaxation, and hydration into your daily rituals. So we also utilize nano-emulsified cannabinoids in every single formula. So with the fast-acting nature and the increased bioavailability of your cannabis experience, we really believe that it can be ingrained or just emphasized more as a functional part of your day. And that's what we strive to provide. And that's what I also strive to, be inspired by and to formulate for the masses. So it's been really a rewarding experience thus far.
And we're going to get more into, because you said some very exciting words that might not be familiar to folks in there. And we're going to dive more into that soon. But I'm just so excited to have you here on the show to be able to really speak to the actual science of making and consuming infusions through our digestive system. And especially because you are an actual certified food scientist. Can you speak to your background in food science and what eventually drew you to creating your own infused product?
Yes. So I studied food science at Cornell, and it was there that I really, let's say, became a cannabis enthusiast.
Mhm.
I really understood the functional properties and benefits that cannabis could have, and really loved utilizing it as an ingredient myself. Creating different cannabis infused things in my kitchen was really like a fun habit for me to do. But as I journeyed into my food science career, I worked, other corporations at Dannon and Evian and Daily Harvest and things like this. I was able to really get a lot of real world experience in not only product development, which is my favorite part, but also regulatory compliance. So like understanding and interpreting the FDA guidelines, which comes in handy for a cannabis business, as well as food safety, quality assurance, FDA audits, and things like that. So I've really had, luckily, full-rounded food science experience, which is pretty rare. And because of that, I always knew I wanted to start something myself. I'm all into creating products and doing it for other people, but I was always wanting to see what the market was wanting and craving for. And that's how I landed on Brelixi. I saw that there was a need, or let's say I saw that there wasn't a unique offering of functional wellness products in the cannabis space. And I also saw that there is an area to improve cannabis beverages, like in terms of the flavors in general. I noticed a lot of oil-based products have that type of aftertaste, let's say that cannabis funk that sometimes is adverse and not liked. So I really wanted to change that and bring more food science into that space. So I call myself a functional wellness girly. So I wanted to incorporate that with cannabis. Cannabis is part of that functional wellness journey, and then just have it being a one-stop shop for all of that. So that's how I landed on drink mixes, so providing really convenient powders, water-soluble powders. They're fast-acting, 5 to 15-minute onset time, and they can support you with anxiety, stress, relaxation, getting lifted, elevated, all of the fun things that we know and love from the cannabis plant.
And what makes, Brelixi not only possible, because like you said, a lot of people use those oil-based solutions that create that aftertaste because you're just getting like one big rush of the cannabis instead of it being dispersed. What makes it fast acting is this concept of nano-cannabinoid technology. Can you give our audience kind of a basic primer on what this technology is and how it impacts how our bodies are able to absorb the THC or the CBD that's in, an infused drink?
Yes, so it's really exciting to see this innovation really enter the cannabis industry, and that's why we're so excited to also utilize it and also speak to it. So nano-emulsified technology simply means that you take an oil-based globulate, so the distillates and the CBD and THC infused oils, it's a big globulate, and you simply emulsify it. So you do a chemical process that makes it into a very small particle, and this very small particle is able to then absorb into your bloodstream pretty instantly within the 5 to 15 minute onset time that you feel, is because that is the time it takes for this molecule to be felt within your bloodstream. And it usually absorbs sublingually, so through your mouth, your tongue, your esophagus, and all the way down to your upper stomach lining. It's usually when that's fully absorbed, much before it lands into your lower digestive system and your liver. Now, why I talk about that is that's how traditional consumable or edibles, let's say, are offered. So they're offered in a bigger oil globulate format. So it just takes your body, it's going through your mouth, it's going through your stomach, and then it hits the bottom stomach into your liver. That's when, the liver's processing all the good things, right? So that's when it really goes into your bloodstream at that time. But that takes about 45 minutes to an hour. Also, it depends on your metabolism and how you had before you ate and your medication history, because that's where your liver processes everything. So with nano-emulsified water-soluble cannabis powder like we have, it's able to increase the bioavailability by immediately absorbing into your bloodstream so that you're able to feel the efficacious benefits really quickly, so that you are then able to, first of all, enjoy the benefits, but then also dose up if you'd like, or, not being restricted by having to wait to, let's say, increase or decrease the dose. A lot of people have those horrible stories, unfortunately, of getting really high all at once after an hour, forgetting that they took the edible. And that's due to how big the goblet size is. So I highly recommend nano-emulsified technology, especially for those with like anxiety who need that quick fix, right? Even panic attacks. I've seen Brelixi CBD stop a panic attack in its tracks, literally. It was so beautiful and rewarding to see that process, but it's just great that because of this technology, now it, increases the bioavailability. And I want to clarify that what I mean by process, the molecule being processed, simply means it's being emulsified. So emulsified is a process that takes oil and makes it more water soluble, simply stated.
Yeah, emulsification, for people out there, you can think of it similarly to like when you make a salad dressing and you're trying to mix together the olive oil and everything else, and you're drizzling the oil in very slowly. That is the process of emulsification, of those molecules slowly being introduced and broken down and binding to one another. And it's really so fascinating to think about those smaller particles being able to be absorbed, like you said, in your mouth, under your tongue, in your upper digestive tract, can make such a difference in the timing and also the experience of consuming cannabis. Because not only do you have to wait for a traditional edible to go through your digestive system, get into your stomach, for the cannabis to make its way to your liver, but there is also a science behind the reason why consumables in that traditional format feel a little stronger or different than smoking a joint. Can you speak a little bit to what that process is, where when your liver breaks down the THC, it gets a little more intense?
So why that happens in general is because of how the liver processes exactly. So it takes a while for it to land at the liver. And then when it does, it can seemingly feel like it's all coming at you all at once. You're getting a really big dose all at the same time. And also sometimes it's like all at once. Sometimes it's, I got hit 30 minutes later. It kept happening in waves. And that's all due to your specific system and how your liver digests in your body, right? We're all different human beings. That's why I also highly recommend a water-soluble fast-acting cannabis, just so that you limit that type of experience itself.
And it's not going to be that same, like you said, sustained high where people are like, I ate a crazy edible and I was high for like 2 days straight.
Exactly. It's a much more predictable high because you know the bioavailability. It's increased, and so you could feel it immediately. And then you also can feel when it leaves your system, which it's typically over an hour. I get some comments it's 2 to 3 hours, even more, but it's typically 1 to 2 hours it's felt, the nano-emulsified cannabis.
And so when you were formulating your Brelixi mixes, not only were you very intentional about considering, onset and dosage of each product, but you also deliberately include other superstar ingredients like electrolytes and adaptogens, as well as these quote unquote superfoods like turmeric and elderberry. How did you decide on these formulations, and what do these other ingredients do to support the body's interaction with cannabis?
Yes, great question. So as I mentioned before, I call myself a functional wellness girly, and that's because I'm a huge food nerd and like product development nerd. So I specialize in like always trying to make developments just be more functional through plant medicine. Plants are just so freaking magical. So with Brelixi, I was really keen on making, if I'm going to make a drink mix, have it being as functional and as nutritious as possible. So that's why I literally combined 5 different functionals into every single formula. And utilizing superfoods, like you said, we use 2 different types of organic turmeric. We use organic elderberry. These things are highly nutritious by having an extreme anti-inflammatory effects and immunity boosting effects as well. I added that with electrolytes, which is great for hydration. It actually makes you hydrated quicker than water alone. That's because water doesn't have minerals in it, usually, in our American water line, unfortunately. Electrolytes, adaptogens, which is a class of plant compounds that just adapt to your stress levels. Clearly, it's like right in the name, adaptogens. It really helps to just manage your daily stress and anxieties, which is a natural part of living in today's society, let's say, in this type of late-stage capitalism world. And then nootropics, which is a class of brain stimulant. So it helps with your cognitive, your focus, and your attention. I personally always focus or want to add supplements to my daily routine that focus on brain health. So that's why I was intentional with adding nootropics in our blends. And then we have the vitamins and minerals through the antioxidants with the fruit juice powders that we are delivering. So with all of that incorporated with your choice of the CBD or the THC, you really get that option of experiencing fast-acting functional wellness at your fingertips.
And why would someone want to choose to consume CBD over THC or vice versa, or together?
So separately, CBD is non-psychoactive, or better yet, I like to use the technical term non-intoxicating. It doesn't make you high. It's still psychoactive because it gives you brain beneficial serotonin properties. It increases these different pathways. So it's still psychoactive in that way. It just does not get you intoxicated, which means gets you high. THC, the difference there is that it is a psychoactive or intoxicating compound. So that's why you feel that type of elevation, that classic high that you know when you smoke weed, for example. So taking them separately, CBD is all about relaxation, stress management. It could be used for pain management. It really helps utilizing that part of the cannabis plant that doesn't engage in that high effect. It really engages in all the other effects, which just helps to just de-stress and relax your body in general. Literally, it has an anti-inflammatory effects as well as just all around like mood support. And there needs to be a lot more research done in this realm. As you're hearing like CBG, for example, and CBN come into the space more and more, it's really crucial to learn all of these specific benefits behind the cannabinoids. So more research being done in this field is really exciting to see. And then THC, I think I said that before, it's just like that classic high. There's differences with indica and sativa, but with the hemp-derived THC, that's what we utilize as well. It's more like that sativa high that's very uplifting and like cerebral. Mm-hmm. So you get those differences there. And to combine them, that CBD and THC mixture, which is my favorite, you get both that like uplifting, but then that full body like CBD, anti-inflammation, anti-stress vibe. So I feel the CBD mostly in my body, and I feel the THC mostly like in my head and cognition. So that's how I like to, I guess, describe the CBD and THC combo.
I'm going to go take a smoke break, but we'll be back with more Jazz Cabbage. Welcome back, my little cabbages, to more Jazz Cabbage. I think I was talking to you once, and you had said something along the lines of viewing THC like the sun and CBD like the moon, and just how they're their own entities, but they support each other, they support our body, they push and pull the tides and grow the leaves and all of these things, but in their own ways. So that's an analogy I think that's really always stuck with me, and I'm constantly thinking about it that way. And the balance is so needed. And so since launching Brelixi last year, in addition to your incredible functional flavored drink mixes that have all of the great yuzu and turmeric and elderberry, you've also added functional flavorless powders to the lineup so that people can infuse any food or beverage of their choice. I personally like to put some in my water before a yoga class and like really hydrate through class that way. But I've even used the THC powder to micro-infuse a batch of cookies that I've made before. And I think that the versatility of a product like this is so brilliant because it really opens people up to so many options for being able to consume THC or CBD in a way that's not only discreet, but also fits into their pre-existing, routines and especially wellness routines. So I would love for you to share some of the ways that you like to use Brelixi through your own personal routines.
Yes. Okay. Ever since we launched the flavorless fast-acting powder, I use the CBD powder in my morning coffee every single day. It's honestly changed my working lifestyle because coffee, it's very stimulating, but for me, it was a little bit on the edge, but I would have to just balance it out by like taking a lot of walks or, drinking a lot of water, feeling kind of dehydrated, which is a natural, reaction from coffee. But the CBD, it completely balances out those type of jitters and just deflects the over caffeinated vibes that I get. So it's like a perfect balance of focus stimulation, but feeling really present in my body with the CBD. So I'm able to just not get nervous or anxiety because of the overstimulation from the caffeine. So it's really changed my life. But I also really like putting the THC when I'm just having like a casual snack. I'm having like a bowl of cereal. I put it in the milk, which is amazing. Brings me back to childhood when I'm like drinking that cereal milk, but it's like infused. Nice. So it's adult cereal milk. Also smoothies, like acai bowls. It's so easy just to mix it in. Then when I'm very intentional with it, I like to put in like soups or like marinades, for example.
THC cereal milk actually might be a game changer. You might have really just unlocked some really big brained concept there. You might have just changed my life, I think. Because now I'm imagining like the end of a bowl of Fruity Pebbles, and you've got the like pinkish milk. Oh. Wow, makes
it extra rewarding, because if you're a stoner or a functional stoner, let's say, it's just, all the better.
You've really unlocked something there. And yes, the functional stoners, we exist. We are out here. I was talking to Chanel Lindsay of Ardent Cannabis earlier and just talking about how that lazy stoner stereotype is just so outdated, because there are people, like you, who is a whole food scientist and entrepreneur. There are people like her who is an inventor with 5 patents to her name, and she's also an attorney. People like me who are out here making podcasts and constantly, trying to push for more visibility of this culinary cannabis scene. And I'm also someone who really deals with anxiety, and I do need to be able to dose myself at different points through the day to be able to manage all of that stimulation, especially in a city like New York, in an environment where things are changing so constantly and so rapidly. So it's really incredible to see not only like that these products exist in the world, but also just how well people have taken to them. There's been some really just incredible support that I've seen behind the brand. And, even when you partnered with me for my own pop-up, people were really vibing with the products. They were just so blown away by the fact that you had made these really incredible special mocktails, and people were able to create and tailor their own experience at this dinner event. And some people didn't really want to have any THC at the dinner, and that's okay. Some people wanted to float through the entire evening, and that was okay too. But everyone being able to choose their own adventure, so to speak, really created this beautiful environment where nobody felt like they had to mask in a certain way. Everyone was able to show up as they showed up. And I think that's something that's so beautiful when we're able to bring cannabis literally to the dinner table and break bread in this way. So when you are looking towards the future of infused food and drink, but also just cannabis supported wellness in general, what are you dreaming into existence?
I want this envelope of cannabis being destigmatized. We're pushing it to be further destigmatized as we go on. I just want that to be continued and not derailed. I just want that to continue to progress, so much so where we're seeing cannabis being like completely utilized as a treatment, as a natural holistic wellness solutions in the hospitals and every single medical and physical, let's say, treatment center, as well as just on the shelves of everywhere, like Target. There's hemp-derived THC seltzers in Erewhon,
Right.
Whole Foods like GNC, Vitamin Shop, Sprouts. I just want it to be in every single place, like highly accessible to get that type of, functional wellness and instant relief. So that is my hope for the future, and especially for Brelixi. I really want to break through and be that kind of industry challenger and disruptor, let's say.
And that, I think that's part of the reason why, like, you and I just get along so well and have collaborated so well too, because on the other side of that, I'm like, yes, I want to see it everywhere. And I want to be the person who is helping to tell people not only where they can find it, but create these platforms for storytelling so that we're able to know what it's actually going to do, so that we're able to have this really intentional consumer education where we're not feeling shamed out of learning more, but where we're actually able to find information that feels culturally aligned, that feels energetically aligned, spiritually aligned. This is a woo-woo podcast. We all know this by now. But really to be able to empower people to be able to make the decision and know, okay, in having an infused drink, having CBD, that's something that I really want to try. And then I'm able to be like, okay, you know why you want to try it. And now you know also what to look for. You know to go find Brelixi, to go find these products that feel aligned with your lifestyle and what it is you're searching for. And that was already a big drive for me as a journalist with a food background, because it's like, okay, people want to be able to find food that's really going to blow their mind, find the stories of the chefs behind these incredible food. They really want to be able to have these holistic stories around the things that they're going out to consume, because it's not just about that consumption for the sake of consumption, but really having an experience and having someone else's story become a part of your story as well, which is what I love about food. Exactly. And there's so much of that in cannabis as well, when we are given the opportunity to infuse that, when we are given the opportunity to allow cannabis to exist in these ways. So I'm just always so grateful to be able to chat with you, because you are a veritable fount of knowledge, but also just someone who I'm so grateful to be aligned with and to be able to have these conversations with and to do this hard work with, because it's not always easy.
Yeah,
and it may seem like we just get stoned all the time and we're just eating and having a good time. And the good times are there. Don't get me wrong. But the second that you tell people you work in cannabis, it's either like, okay, cool, hell yeah. Or you get some crazy looks. You get some crazy looks.
And let's talk about that for a moment, because the struggles out here for a cannabis business is so real, just because there's no traditional structures for a business like this, as a small business, to exist. You need to have a lot of, let's say, other resources. The traditional resources are not there for you. No. So you can even imagine that, let alone it's a new industry, let alone there's some states that are contesting it. There's some medical versus recreational, let's say. But then the banks literally won't give you small business loans. Like, oh, I can't do business normally.
No, and a lot of people don't recognize this, but you literally cannot get a business loan from a federally insured bank for a cannabis business because it's still federally illegal. And people seem to think that, oh, cannabis, there's this cash cow. There's literally a cash flow problem because they have nowhere to put their money.
Yep. And then that gives extra risk to investors and funds. And so you're just completely ineligible for a lot of money that's out there for businesses to operate as they're up and coming. That's just what a normal business does. So it's interesting and, challenging, but the support, I would say, from the community thus far, including you, Chala, so much, oh my goodness, has been really made it worthwhile for sure. And then also, as you were saying before, the reason why we're friends, disruptor, we love to engage in challenging type of industries. This challenge only makes me more inspired.
Yes. And we just gotta keep doing the work because, like you said, there's just so much potential, not only for medically and physically how this plant benefits people, but also just energetically, spiritually, on the human connection level. There are so many benefits And obviously, not everything's going to be for everyone, and not everyone is going to get the exact same benefits. I'm constantly saying on this podcast, please consult your physician if you are looking to use cannabis for any particular reason. We are not medical doctors. You can make the decisions that are right for you and your health in conjunction with your physician. But that being said, there really is just so much beauty that can be unlocked and untapped when we're given the space to really think and talk and engage with this plant intentionally. So thank you so much again for coming on the show. It's really been such a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Of course, have me anytime. I'm here.
Yes. And as we get ready to sign off, where can our listeners find Brelixi and keep up with your work?
So you can find us on socials, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Brelixi. It's Brelixi. And you can also find us and purchase us online at Brelixi.com.
Breanna, thank you so much again. This has been truly a joy. It just feels like we're catching up, you know?
I know, just chopping it up. What we're missing is a joint.
I know. We're going to get
to... is a sesh.
I hope that everyone listening has been smoking this entire time.
Same.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Check out our show notes to learn more about our guests and other cannabis resources. Jazz Cabbage is produced by Taylor Early, H. Conley, and me, Chala June. Sound design and mixing is by Sam Gerardi. Jazz Cabbage is powered by Simplecast. Jazz Cabbage, hosted by Chala June, is a production of Heritage Radio Network. Food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe. For more Jazz Cabbage shenanigans, find us on Instagram at JazzCabbagePod. If you want to drop me a note, you can write to the pod at jazzcabbagepodcast@gmail.com.